Welcome back to another episode of the AA Sports Podcast. My name's Art, here with my brother Alex.
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe, drop a like, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Really helps out the podcast. Alex, we got another weekend of boxing. We have, the biggest, probably superstar boxer in the world right now, Canelo Alvarez, taking on Yildirim. My first question straight out to you is, how do you feel about Canelo fighting Yildirim in this fight?
You know what? You could take it one of two ways. It's Canelo's mandatory. He'll get stripped of the belt if he doesn't fight him. Two, Yildirim's a nobody who's, he's fought, let's see, Andre Durrell, who is
Andre or Anthony? One of the Durrell brothers.
It was one of the Durrell brothers who was a former world champion, so it's not like Yildirim hasn't fought anybody. But, we just don't feel like Yildirim can really pull this fight out.
I think Yildirim and maybe his coach are the only guys who could think Yildirim could pull this off. So are you okay with Canelo fighting Yildirim?
You know what? I had my thoughts of no, but at the end of it, I guess there's people out there that fight guys that, as a tune-up fight, they don't really fight the top opposition every time. I'm sure Canelo's going to fight a Billy Joe Saunders soon, who's, I think, his next fight, right?
According to the reports, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, that's probably what it is. Before, I had my thoughts on Canelo, but now I feel like he's able to fight those top guys. He fought Triple G when Triple G was the guy to beat at 160. So it's not like he shies away from fighting the top guys. He's fought Erislandy Lara, Miguel Cotto,
Mayweather.
Yeah, Mayweather, Triple G. And this was a Triple G that nobody was lining up to fight. This guy was knocking everybody out.
Yep.
And he was able to get a win and beat him in the second fight. He fought a Danny Jacobs, a big Danny Jacobs, who I thought Danny Jacobs looked really good in that fight as well. And Canelo beat him fair and square. So, yeah, you know what? It's his mandatory. Screw it.
Okay.
What about you? What are your thoughts on it?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest and say that nobody cared about Yildirim until this week. And then
it's true.
Nobody cared about this fight until this week. And, now that it's fight week, all these Twitter and Instagram and social media guys are doing their research. And they're like, well, Yildirim hasn't won a fight in 2 years. Nobody cared when this fight was made. It's kind of late to complain about it now. Right. If you're going to complain as soon as it gets announced, But now that everybody's doing their research, now everybody's coming out and, this is a bad fight and this and that. You know what, Canelo, I think fighting these type of fights I think it's crucial for him right now because he's trying to stay active.
Right.
Now, according to him and according to what they want to do, he wants to fight 5 times this year. February, if all goes well, no injuries. May, all goes well, no injuries. I believe he's looking at July. Okay. And then again in September and then again in December. So he's trying to fight 5 times this year. He's not going to be able to fight 5 studs in a year. One, because they'll probably price themselves out and they'll want too much more time to train. But at the same time, it's not healthy for Canelo to fight stud after stud after stud after stud. It's rare that you see a guy, fight a couple studs in a row. It is what it is. That's how boxing is.
I highly doubt he can fight 5 times a year. When was the last time somebody fought 5 times a year?
Well, the younger guys do it all the time, but any of these big guys, they usually don't.
That's
2 to 3 times a year.
If Canelo mops him quick, then it's a higher chance, I guess. Yeah, so I could see that.
And like Canelo said, he fought what was his name? Callum Smith.
Yeah.
And Callum Smith was the number 1 rated 168 pounder. You know, sure, in hindsight, Canelo made it look easy, but he was rated number 1 at 168, above Plant, above Benavidez because of Benavidez issues. But that was the number 1 guy, and Canelo beat him fairly easily. So, you know, Canelo was quoted in saying that he really didn't care what people thought because he beat the number 1 guy and they weren't happy about it. So he's never going to be able to please everybody. But I expect Canelo to take care of Yildirim. If anything, Yildirim's pretty durable because in that Durrell fight, I think it was a cut that ended up stopping the fight. Durrell couldn't get him out of there. Yildirim took some hellacious punches, crazy uppercuts. So I see Canelo either with a late round stoppage or a lopsided decision. You got any predictions on the fight?
Yeah, I'd have to say the same. I mean, I think Canelo's I feel like he's just a different level than this guy. You know, we've seen Canelo evolve to, he has better head movement now. It seems like the snap on his punches, it seems like he's got some type of devastating power because everybody that he fights, even though if they're big guys, they're moving backwards. Yep. They want no part of the power.
Yep.
So, nobody is looking to go toe-to-toe with Canelo right now. Nobody.
Agree. Nope.
So, it's going to have to really take a guy like Benavidez. I don't even think Caleb Plant's going to be able to stand in there with, he's going to really try to box him. It's going to take a big guy like Benavidez. Let's see who else is at 168.
Benavidez. Well, Benavidez and Plant are the two
top guys, right?
Yeah, Danny Jacobs is fighting at 168 right now too.
Billy Joe Saunders is even him. I would have liked the fight. When Billy Joe Saunders before he got what did he get in trouble for? Didn't he use like an asthma pill?
Yeah,
to try to help him lose weight.
Yeah.
All right. So
diuretic, I think.
Right. So what happened with Billy Joe Saunders was that he used like this pill that people take for asthma. I guess it's supposed to help him out with their breathing, whatever the case. He used it in order to help him lose weight, which is illegal, right? Because you're getting an advantage to lose weight.
Well, yeah, it was a diuretic, they call it. It's not like a steroid or anything, it's more like a fat burner, but it is against, that particular pill that he took was against the rules.
Right. So, I would have liked to see the Billy Joe Saunders fight when Billy Joe Saunders was, when he was on the come up, when he fought, when he fought Lemieux, I thought he looked his best. He even beat that dude. What's his name? The Eubanks Jr. Mm-hmm. That's when Billy Joe Saunders looked good, with his reflexes firing on all cylinders. It just now it looks like Billy Joe Saunders kind of let himself go a little bit.
His career has stalled.
Yeah, it stalled, and then he got in trouble for that pill or the diuretic, whatever the case. So that put him on the shelf. And then he had to gain some weight. He moved up to 168, right?
And now COVID, he hasn't been able to get out of the UK.
Then COVID's going on. So, honestly, I'll be honest. It just seems like the Billy Joe Saunders fight, like, it's not going to be in his favor because, he's been on the shelf to where Canelo's been fighting, and that's the last thing you want is to fight, you've been inactive and Canelo's been fighting, so it's going to be tough. But, yeah, I hate to just make this entire, segment of us basically, not even giving Yildirim a chance, but, we can't actually sit here and say that we're giving him a chance.
Does he have a puncher's chance? Of course, everybody has a puncher's chance, but I just think Canelo's going to convincingly win.
Canelo's chin is, I don't even think you really have a puncher's chance with Canelo's chin.
You know what? Now that you say that, yeah.
He just knows how to roll with punches. He's taking overhand rights from guys like Triple G, Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs landed one of the most solid overhand rights you're going to land on him.
Yep.
And the dude didn't even buckle.
Didn't even budge.
It's Peds. It has to be.
Nah.
There's no
Mexican
way you take that overhand right and not even buckle at all. That was crazy.
Yeah, very crazy.
I mean, I was just kidding about the whole Peds thing. You know, it's amazing when somebody could take a punch like that.
Yeah, it is. On the undercard, we got Julio Martinez taking on McWilliams Arroyo for the WBC World Flyweight title. Martinez is a fan favorite. He's fought very exciting fights on DAZN, his last couple fights. I think McWilliams Arroyo is going to be his first true, I don't want to say test because he's already a champion, but like a true title challenger who can threaten Martinez's title reign. Well, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, you know what? I think it looks like it should be a good fight.
Yeah.
In my, you know what? I looked them up. Did Martinez fight when Mikey fought on an undercard or no?
He either fought on Mikey's undercard or he fought on, I believe he fought on Danny Jacobs against Chavez Jr. undercard. I think that's where he won his title, if I'm not mistaken.
Where he beat Harris?
I think so.
I don't think it was that one, but I'm not exactly sure. But you know what? Julio Cesar Martinez is a guy he's got blinding speed.
Yeah.
You know, his defense I don't think is the greatest.
No.
You know, I don't think his power is anything out of this world.
Yeah.
But he is fast. I feel like he throws a lot of punches, right? Mm-hmm. Throws a lot of combinations. But Arroyo's no slouch either. Nope. Listen, this is a guy that beat Carlos Cuadras. You know, it looked like he was about to get beat up for those first two rounds. It looked like, you know what, it's going to be a long night for Arroyo. He comes back, turns it around, and outboxes Cuadras.
Yep. And
Cuadras isn't, he's not one of these guys that anybody can beat.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So
no slouch.
Yeah. You know, I think, what is it? Arroyo's only loss has been to Chocolatito.
And he lost to Kazuto Ioka.
Did he ever fight Estrada?
I
don't think he
has fought Estrada.
Let me look that up real quick because I thought I did see that.
I got it right here.
Oh, okay.
You want to give a prediction on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, oh man, this prediction's it's iffy. I don't know. You know, I do think Martinez is gonna probably pull it off. I think he's got enough of what it takes, but Arroyo can make this a tricky fight with his timing. I feel like when he fought Cuadras, he was able to slow the fight down.
Yeah,
I felt like when the fight was at a higher pace, you know, those first two rounds, it seemed like Arroyo was having a hard time finding his timing. But then once those later rounds came, you know, 3, 4. And on, it seemed like he was able to back away, use his jab, use his 1-2, and then just work on the timing. And he was able to catch Cuadras a lot of times. So, yeah, I think Martinez probably just with the volume of punches that he throws, it seems like he's got a good chin as well. So, I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm going to go with Martinez, obviously.
I think Martinez in his last fight showed, you know, just not the crazy power, but just his ability to put punches together, right, and really catch his opponents off guard with that. He does, you know, lack a little bit of defense, which, you know, I don't know if with McWilliams Arroyo, it'll be a big problem. But like you said, Arroyo has good boxing skills. But once he steps up and fights, you know, better flyweights, he will definitely, I think, struggle a little bit. But I think for this fight, he should be okay and should be able to pull out a decision.
I feel like Arroyo has an advantage because he's good. He's been in there with Chocolatito. He hasn't fought Estrada, right? You said no Estrada, but he's fought Chocolatito, Cuadras, who were the top guys at that time. So. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and Ioka is also one of the top.
Yeah, and Ioka. So, I mean, Martinez hasn't fought one of these guys yet.
True.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, anybody could do that against a guy named Harris. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying there's going to be some questions to be answered from Martinez. And I hope we get to see him.
Yeah. He has one loss early on in his career, which was a split decision. But aside from that, he is undefeated in his last, 17 fights. So
it's Mexico versus Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
You know how this goes down.
That rivalry that everybody wants to make, but it's not a rivalry. There have been no good Puerto Rican fighters in the last couple of years. Let's be real.
It is a rivalry. What do you mean?
Not anymore.
You remember what they were saying about Margarito Cotto?
Yep. Margarito Cotto was like 14 years ago now.
They still bring it up till this day.
Yeah, well, I know that, but still.
Veremos quién es el más macho.
Yeah, but Puerto Rico has not. I don't think Puerto Rico has a male world champion. I know they have a female world champion.
They're getting behind Edgar Berlanga, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's still a prospect.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a prospect that has shown first round knockouts, but nothing else. So, I mean, you can't. It's hard to gauge a fighter who's only fighting one round. Yes, he's winning by knockout, but eventually there's going to be that guy who's going to be able to take him the distance, and we'll have to see how he responds to that.
Danny Garcia is also Puerto Rican. He's been doing good.
He's not a world champion.
I mean, he's not a world champion, but he's been world champs.
But he's only a Puerto Rican when he que no. All the other times he's from Philly. So, I mean, which one is it?
It's both.
Okay. On the undercard, we got young guys like Mark Castro, Alexis Espino, Diego Pacheco. Anybody you interested in watching?
Mark Castro, is this his second fight?
I believe it's his second fight.
Right? He hasn't. I don't think he's fought since his debut.
Did he fight on the Ryan Garcia undercard? Was it the Ryan Garcia? I think it was. Ryan Garcia against Luke Campbell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see Mark Castro. I think you know what, he caught a lot of
hate because he didn't get the stoppage,
and he didn't look too good. He looked a little anxious in there. He looked a little nervous. I think, as the fights go along, he'll be able to settle down and really become that fighter that he was in the amateurs. Because in the amateurs, he was a legit fighter.
Yeah.
Again, this isn't the amateurs, but just that composure in the ring, I'm sure that he'll be able to have once he gets more fights under his belt. Alexis Espino is just he is such a good fighter that just, it seems like his career is kind of moving along slowly. He's getting less dates, like we just mentioned with Castro. Castro just fought, last month, at the beginning of last month.
Yeah.
And Espino, I don't remember the last time Espino fought. So I would like to see Espino be a little more active. Diego Pacheco I think he's a welterweight. Or a super welterweight, but he's like 6 feet tall, if I'm not mistaken. So he's also a solid prospect. But again, activity. I'd like to see these guys fight a little bit more. Hopefully now with Canelo fighting more and more fights seeming to happen, more boxing cards seeming to happen, these prospects can get more and more fights, because they don't really need the exposure. They need the fights.
Right.
And now it's crazy because I remember, not too long ago, about 6 years ago, you would never watch an undercard fight with these young prospects. Never.
Definitely
They were
not.
never on TV. They were never streamed. Nothing. Like, there was no way to watch them unless you were there live.
Right.
And now we get to watch all these undercards, all these prospects coming up. And I like that, man. When we used to go to the fights, I used to love, getting there early and watching, from the first bell, a guy who, the majority of fans wouldn't know. I'd love to watch them, come out of the amateurs and make their pro debuts, things like that. I loved watching those fights. And, now that we get to watch them on TV, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was always the opposite. I didn't really like to watch the undercard fights. I remember that's when I go when I go to like a boxing match or something like that. It's hard for me to sit there and look at the undercard fights. But it changed over, like, once I got older, I felt like I was able to understand boxing more. you know, like what these guys go through in the amateurs, you know, and how big of a moment it is for them.
Yeah, to make a pro debut. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because they used to make their pro debuts in front of 10 people watching, you know, because nobody would be in the crowd. And now they're making their pro debuts with nobody in the crowd because there's no crowds.
Right.
So things kind of come full circle. Well, thank you guys for watching this episode of the A Sports Podcast, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Thanks a lot, guys.